Hey everyone, welcome back to the Placement Loop podcast, name to be determined. Thinking about changing it here soon. But yeah, those of you just joining us for the first time, this is a podcast where we sync up with the leaders, top leaders within the industry of consulting, SaaS, and staffing and recruiting, right? A lot of the stuff I've been surrounded with in my whole time of actually working and running businesses. And like I said, we're here to share concepts, share helpful advice that hopefully helps you, founders, C-suite folks who are in a situation where you're trying to figure out what to do next. This is the place to be. And I have brought on our wonderful guest here, Brooks Whitehead, owner of Buck Whitehead and Brandt, and it's definitely going to share a lot of. We've had a conversation before, and the conversation we had was so in depth, and needed to have him on to be able to share the wealth of knowledge in the past that he's come from, and hopes to essentially help any of you all out there go over that hump as well. So, Brooks, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's an
Yeah,
honor.
yeah. Definitely. We'll just go right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, the company, 30,000 foot view of it, and then your past and how you got to be.
Sure, absolutely. More than happy to share, and hopefully people will be able to hear a little bit about what I've been doing and either feel inspired and maybe go run to do their own thing, or maybe just take a little bit of advice or maybe lessons from some of my mistakes. So that's always the hope. So thank you again. So I'm Brooks Whitehead. I have a design recruiting firm called Buck Whitehead Brandt. And you can go to the website, Buck Whitehead Brandt. It's Buckwhiteheadbrandt.com. Yes, it's a lengthy URL, and we are working on that. So that might be changed in the future. So the LLC is it's a small boutique firm. We've been around, formed about 6 years ago, but been very active about the past 3 years. It formed. I formed it when I was working at other companies, just to have it as a something to grow into, and I thought it was a good time to form it when I was employed elsewhere, because that way everything isn't depending upon it. And I've often encouraged people who say, I want to start my own thing. Well, that's great, but make sure you do it from a place of stability, not a place of panic. Because if you're not working and suddenly you decide to start your own thing, you, all of your actions are going to be moving towards revenue. How do I make this profitable? Probably not the best way to start your own firm. Probably not the best way to really chase a vision is just looking after the bottom line. So I always encourage people to just, if you have an idea and you're working, you think, well, I don't have time for it. You probably do. Just, start playing with it and think about, what would I really want to do? What would I want to be? And so I did that when I was working at Twitter at the time. And this was pre-Musk Twitter. And it gave me, I didn't act on it. I didn't have any client search or anything like that, but it allowed me to fill out the vision. And right now the company is successful. It's definitely been a fun adventure. It's profitable too, which is, again, not chasing that bottom line of profitability was unusually smart for me, and wasn't intended to be so, but it really it worked out in the end because I'm not chasing that bottom line. I started in design recruiting over 20 years ago, and I started right out of school. I graduated. I'm a creative at heart, and I graduated with a BFA, and I wanted to stay within the creative realm, but I really wanted other avenues to look at too, and I didn't want to just be the poor art student. So right out of college, I was lucky and landed at Microsoft, recruiting usability participants for design studies. And that really wet my whistle, understanding what motivates people to join things, working within the design community. It was great. It was a great opportunity. And from then I moved on to a creative design agency that placed creatives elsewhere. And I made those career moves, staying within the creative industry, but really focusing almost exclusively on the process, less who I'm serving. So even though I worked and circulated in the design and the creative community for most of my career, I'm still a recruiter, and I still have to be. Um, I am a recruiter first and foremost. I understand recruiting processes. I understand how to read the metrics and what kind of data points you in certain directions. So that's above the creative level right there for me. I worked for JP Morgan. I've worked for Microsoft 3 different times. I've gone back, and I was at Amazon in about 2015. I started there, and that really kicked everything into another level because Amazon is as difficult as people say, and it's also as rewarding as people say. It changed me in many ways, all for the better. It made me a much better recruiter. It made me a better person. Made me a stronger person in the design community. And I was there for almost 6 years, where I led the all design and creative recruiting for Amazon Studios, Prime Video, IMDb, and Amazon Music. And as I grew, I built out the team. I had some people working for me who were able to take over Amazon Music and IMDb. And I stayed with Studios and Prime Video. And the reason why is Studios is the talent and video is more or less the player. It's the cheapest, simplest way to put that, but it's really what it was. And there is where I really took my career into another level. And I had a blast. It was fun. And got headhunted by Twitter. This was about 2021, and didn't want to leave Amazon, but the opportunity was pretty significant. So I went to Twitter, and I was there for a year. And then Musk purchased the company and turned it into X. And during that transition, there was a lot of conflict internally. It was very challenging for the teams I had built. And the company itself was in a great state of flux, and it was challenging, I think, to everyone involved. And from there, I went to eBay and was the principal design recruiter there, helping them to design recruiting systems for their projects. And they had never had a design recruiter before. So from there, I went and hung out my own shingle. It was the time, the template was in place. I knew I had this LLC formed already, so I was able to jump right into it. And here I am. So that's the long, mildly tedious version of my background. So
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. A lot of craziness like to take away is that you've worked with these huge companies, well-known brand companies, and even working at these known companies, you've hit that specific point of no return of entrepreneurship, and that specific point of no return is when you had developed a system that the companies were using.
yeah,
So then after you build the system, you're like, well, there's no point to even become a W-2 anymore,
yeah,
and giving them the system, essentially just implement the system and make the money that way, which
yeah.
was which is great. It was yeah, because that was my follow-up question. I was wondering, like, what was the point of no return, like how it came about, but you answered correctly, is that a lot of people who have these business ideas, like they chase these specific ideas but don't really have a system in place. So it ends up being they're burnt out trying to figure it out or just trying to do all the wrong things. But the ones that do survive, they end up building a system off of feedback. So, throughout time, that you've worked at these different companies, you've always built on top of that system that you knew it worked in any kind of market, any kind of industry, or really any kind of, it's still design, but in any kind of company, right? That system has worked well. So you've already had the proof of concept, and I think that's the biggest piece is when entrepreneurs, they want to do something, find out it's too hard to do, but don't figure it out and try to go for the next shiny object. Like you've been in design, like design has been your like literally blood, sweat, and tears for how long, you'd say?
20 plus years,
Yeah,
25 years. Yeah.
right. That's huge, right? That's and to rely and probably go with a person with that experience level in just design recruiting, design recruiting, right? It speaks volumes of kind of the value you can bring for other folks who want to would be looking for stuff like that, right? So that's great.
Uh, Great question. I would tell my younger self to not give up, of course, because I think that's kind of the fundamental thing for everybody. You just can't give up. You got to keep going. But the biggest thing I would say is don't make the move to start your own business until you can't move anywhere else. And that sounds odd, but what I mean by that is if you spent your life in an industry, if you spent your career in doing a certain thing, very specific thing, either it's recruiting or it's a specialized type of recruiting like design recruiting or PM recruiting, don't start your own business until you are so immersed in that world, until you are such a part of that world that you don't have a lot of options elsewhere. And for me, if I were to say, I'm going to go out and look at landscaping, that's not an option for me because I have 20 plus years doing design recruiting, doing recruiting in general. And so I can't go do certain things. If I wanted to go start a recruiting firm that dealt only in engineering, that wouldn't be an option to me because I don't have that experience. Now I can start a design recruiting firm that deals in design recruiting because that's where 90% of my experience lies. So I would advise people I would advise myself, don't make that jump until your options are much smaller. And that can be taken the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? That can
Mhm.
be, I don't mean options being smaller, like, what am I going to do? I mean options being smaller, like, well, it seems like
This makes
all
the
I've
most
done.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's the
Mhm.
gravity going to fall? What's propelling me to this one place?
Yeah, yeah, it's a pull, not a push, right?
Yes, yes,
You're like the opportunities aren't getting smaller because you yourself are limited, right? Opportunities getting smaller is because it just becomes a no-brainer that that's a better match
exactly.
to what you need
Yes,
to do. Yep,
exactly. You
yep.
you 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 said that much plainer than I did. So
That's okay.
that's true.
It's great. It's great. But no, I mean that's great advice for sure. And even just flipping the coin back to me, like what would I say to myself
Yeah.
as a young entrepreneur doing what I'm doing now, which is consulting, is that definitely invest in yourself. Now, it's not just
Mhm.
working out, right? Not just reading books, but actually investing in mentorship.
Mhm.
Because I found mentorship being the number one thing that helps with shortcuts. Now, we're not talking about like coaching gurus or whatever, because there's ways to sniff out those kind of BSers.
Mhm.
Definitely find some like a program or some whatever niche you want to get into, whether it's recruiting, running an online business, what have you. Definitely invest in yourself and learning that from top dogs
Yeah.
and getting all the shortcuts from the top dogs
Yeah.
because it's that's my biggest thing. Like that would get you to success much faster. Is understanding who's already done it
Yeah.
and just really copy what they're doing and make it
Mhm.
better for yourself.
Yeah.
So,
That's a great observation. It's a really good observation because without people to model yourself after, you're really
hmm
lost. And I think that goes in life in general. It goes along with life in general. As a child, you look towards certain people, whether it's a movie star or an author or whatever. You look at these people and you sort of model those people as role
yeah,
models. And as soon as you're in a career, you've got to find the people who you identify with. And I've always looked at the people who say I'm a junior employee somewhere and there's a director that I'm working with who's way above me. Um, and if I thought, that's a person I'd like to be like they are. I'd like to
hmm
lead the team like they lead the team. I'd like to communicate like they communicate. I'd like to be interpreted as they're interpreted. I want, and people look to them as a certain type of person. You think, yeah, I want them to look towards me that way. Those are the people you gravitate towards. Sort of, you learn from them, you emulate them to a certain degree. And copying is great, and then at some point you leave the copying behind, and you say,
yep,
"Well, it will work better for me if I do it a little bit this way."
hmm
So,
yep,
yeah,
yep,
I agree completely. Leadership, mentorship, make the absolute most of it. And the biggest challenge, and tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if this is something you have not experienced, but it's making sure you approach those people that you want to be mentors or influences. Approach them in a really respectful way,
oh
um,
yeah,
and let them know that look, this is my genuine interest. I'd like to learn more from you. If you just start hanging around them and absorbing what they do, it's not as clear to them. They don't know why you're there
Hmm.
necessarily. But if you clearly state your intentions, look, I'd love to sit with you and learn XYZ, or here's an issue I have a problem with. I like the way you solve your problems. What do you
Hmm.
think of this? What would you do? Things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Be more direct.
Yeah,
Be more direct, because that way it only helps you out and get the right information, right?
exactly.
Because at the end of the day, people like helping each other out.
Yep,
Ask for the right kind of help, I would
yep,
probably say.
absolutely.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know what you don't know. Um,
Yep,
but it's always good to know what kind of questions to ask as well
yep,
to help you find those
absolutely.
out. So
Absolutely.
awesome. So you've touched a little bit about how AI has really removed to some capacity the human aspect of it, right? What have you seen lately when it comes to the essentially the market of design engineers and the staffing industries within that?
Oh, well, it's, that's such a huge question. And it's the question everyone's asking right now. And I don't know how many people, I don't know if anybody has the exact answer because we're still in these beginning stages. I mean, AI has been around quite a while, but it hasn't become the publicly available tool as it has in the past couple of years. And now that it's replacing so many people, so many workers, so many of our jobs, people are beginning to develop somewhat adversarial relationships with AI, or at least the concept of AI. But in my opinion, AI has not replaced designers at all. It's just raised the floor and sort of compressed the middle. And by that, I mean that work that used to require a junior designer, basic mock-ups, asset variations, stock imagery, first draft copy, all that stuff. AI does that now. It'll do it. It'll do it faster, cheaper, instantly. So the entry-level layer of the market has thinned out significantly. It really has. And I think ask anyone trying to break into that entry-level layer, they'll tell you, yeah, this is not the same job market it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But at the very top, the demand for taste, the demand for judgment, and the demand for strategic thinking has actually gone up. Everyone has access, and that's because everyone now has access to the same tools. The same differentiator that's steering them is steering us. And that requires a designer who really knows what good looks like, what
Hmm.
taste is. And the uncomfortable truth, I think, for the industry right now is that a lot of mid-level designers who are coasting on execution, who could build the thing but not really think the thing out. It's the show your work that you always get in math class and in grade school. Well,
Hmm.
you have great. You've added this and this and this, and you have the right answer. How did you get there?
Yep.
That sort of thing is becoming more obvious. So those mid-level designers who were coasting just on execution really are now being replaced by the execution builders of AI. So AI executes, but
Yep.
what it doesn't do, and I can't stress this enough, is it doesn't discern.
Yeah.
Uh, AI does not discern.
Hmm.
Designers who can articulate why something works and what it's for, those are the ones who can really land the creative direction. They're the ones who understand the human on the other side of the product.
Hmm.
And those people are really valuable now, much, much more valuable than they were. And so AI hasn't really it's made craft a commodity, if that makes sense. It's made
Hmm.
vision a little scarce. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I've never heard someone say that specific comparison of what AI is, but yeah, AI. I mean, you can kind of think of the same thing, right? If um, you know, AI who needs to build a website, they can build a website in literally seconds, right? They'll build a website in seconds. But what are we building the
yeah,
website for? You need someone that's an expert in, let's just say, consulting, right? Or an expert in, building websites for like mom and pop restaurants. You would still need that expert input regardless to
mhm,
get the AI to get the craft and the output out for it, right? Because the crafting is
yeah,
the commodity, right? That's the
yeah,
doing, right?
yeah,
But the vision and how to like reach the vision, that's the skill set right now. That's essentially we need a pipeline. I think when it comes to staffing and recruiting, getting connected with those folks, the folks who
yeah,
understand uh, what AI is doing within the business, within the market, take advantage of getting them, in the pipeline, in our benches. and then get that ready for the future, which we know is now, of
Yeah.
essentially needing that specific expertise. Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, so
Absolutely.
smart.
Absolutely.
Would you say as your biggest challenge right now is what's the challenge that you're facing within your business?
Hmm. Yeah, it's another good question. I think the biggest challenge, the first thing that jumps out is we're in a process of figuring out how valuable AI is to us and on what level. And so the challenge, the immediate challenge, this is definitely not a long-term challenge, but I think the immediate challenge of the next 5 years or so is going to be figuring out where AI is valuable and where the human component is more valuable. And I spoke a little bit ago, that AI can do the craft part of it, but the discernment is way more on the human element. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like,
Yep.
to do a crude comparison, I can write a song about, I mean, sorry, AI could write a song about heartbreak. It'll write some song about how their heart was broken, and it can be beautiful, it can be teary, you can hear it and think, wow, it's amazing. But AI never experienced that. It never experienced it. It's just culling that information from a multitude of sources. Now, if someone else were to write a song about heartbreak, who would have their heart broken, there's a different element put into that creative process, and there's going to be a different output
Mm-hmm.
coming out of that. Is it going to be better or worse? I don't know. And I think that's one of the questions is, we're going to have to look at. We are looking at, is that song more powerful from AI, or is it more powerful from the person with their heart broken? Same thing with design. When we look at design and I'm always preaching this, design is empathy, and empathy is design. I mean, I encourage everyone, just go Google design empathy or empathy and design. There's a million resources on it. That's a huge component that, especially as we are now in deep in the world of AI, we've really got to understand what empathy and design mean and how they work together. I'm not going to go into the big definition because it's longer than we have time for, and it's way more nuanced than I want to jump into. But it is something that I think that distills down the difference between the human component and the AI generated craft component. AI can assemble something, but again, it's going to take the discernment of someone on the other end to say, is this meeting our needs? Is this what we want? And ultimately, this is the really subjective one: is, does it look good? Is it attractive? Is it pretty? And does it function as it should?
Mm-hmm.
And those things are going to be, it's, again, I'm going to go back to the song. When you're listening to the song, which one makes you cry, the AI version or the human version? I can't tell you. I mean, I think we are in that, we're in a really odd place right now. But as far as the creating, being on the creative side of it, for the designers or the songwriters, for that example, those are the people who are really, really struggling with this entire revolution. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
any sense.
So, so switching gears yet again, I do want to ask because we're seeing some big shifts right now in the industry, the design industry, with AI. As a staffing and recruiting firm specifically for design, like what are some of the challenges you're seeing in the market for that industry?
Hmm. There are a lot of really big questions being asked right now in regards to design and AI, because AI is, as I'd mentioned, really taking care of a lot of the execution of design and less the vision. But one of the things I keep saying, and one of the big questions and problems, is where everyone is asking AI versus human. I'm asking that question at times, but I've realized that's the wrong question. I mean, the real question is, which humans know how to work with AI and which ones are waiting to be replaced by it. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what I kind of see this boiling down to. And I'll say it again, but which humans know how to work with AI and which ones are waiting to be replaced. And in design specifically, what I mean by that is the designers that are winning right now are the ones that are using AI as a force multiplier, not a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
They're prompting say, Midjourney or Firefly to explore 40 directions in one afternoon, and then applying their taste to pick the one that's worth pursuing. Now, that the tool does the volume, but the human does the judgment, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge thing right now. Is the tool is able to take execution out of our hands and do it really, really well. Not perfectly all the time, but perfectly a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But the judgment element is still up to us. And so in recruiting, which is my world, the signal has shifted a lot. And I'm no longer just evaluating portfolios for craft, which is really what I used to do a lot more of 10 years ago.
Mm.
I'm asking, how did you make this? Like, what decisions did you make and why? So if a candidate cannot articulate their thinking, then AI probably did their thinking too. So the new bar is creative authorship. It's not just execution. So in tech broadly, the companies that are really succeeding right now in AI, like, well, I take any of the big names I have even worked for, it's infrastructure now. It's not a feature. It's built into it. The humans who remain essential and the humans who are going to be there are the ones who know what to build with that electricity, what to build with that AI brilliance, product sense, as I mentioned, user empathy, ethical judgment, cross-functional communications, all those things, those don't compress. So, AI, I like to think of it like this. AI is really the new junior. The question is whether you are good enough to be its art director.
Yes. Oh my God, that's such a great way to put it. AI is the new junior, because a lot of companies are, they're saying, yeah, this AI will do cold email for you. Awesome. Yeah, it's like if you just had a junior sales rep just write emails out. They don't know what to say. They still need direction and guidance from the person that knows how to be able to write emails. Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the AI is your junior. That's like the best takeaway from that for sure. Yeah, and you're you you stated a pretty good point. Like what you've already noticed in the market of the folks that are either going to wait to get replaced by AI, or the folks that actually know how to use it. That's literally what the market is now. That's plain and simple. And obviously, you know that you're pivoting into getting those folks on board with the ones that know how to use AI. Because then, that's going to be the commodity. That's going to, not the commodity, but the answer for a lot of these firms who are probably just wasting away folks that they think they're like AI engineers, right? Just people that know how to write prompts or takes a system and just rehashes it, versus someone that has expertise and knows how to use the tool becomes a wonderful, powerful, I would say, like person, like a company, a huge value of a person in general, any resource for companies. So it's great stuff. Awesome. Well, Brooks, thank you so much for literally bringing on a wealth of knowledge from the years from multiple large brands and just in companies within the industry. Where can folks find you?
They can find me at my website. So again, it's Buck Whitehead Brandt, and that is, as I said, Buckwhitehead, Brandt. Or you can just find me on LinkedIn under Brooks Whitehead, and there's a link to my site there. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. That's easy enough as well. Or if you want, you can hit me up at Brooks, Brooks, at buckwhiteheadbrand.com, or you can hit me up via LinkedIn. I'm on both constantly. So
Awesome. Perfect. Well, I'll put all those links in the description as well as the email. So you easily reach out to Brooks. And that's all we have, folks. Thank you so much for joining in. Hope you got a ton of value out of it and get you over that hump. See you next time.